I'm waiting for it to tell me that our video is live. But if you can hear the sound of my voice, we are also broadcasting video over on YouTube. You can most easily get there just by going to matineeminutia.com and look for the YouTube logo there, and you can see everything in its glory. Let's see. So, oh, right. That should be on its way out there. And we got a couple of people in the room. Toppie, do we want to do our usual thing? Just wait for two more to show up after,
Let's just give it another minute or two.
Mhm.
I've got 8:59 on my clock, so
I'm always lower than Toppie. I have to park my face on this microphone. It's like one of those Southern California auditions.
You gotta park your face somewhere.
Right? I was never good at parallel parking. No. Well, this evening is not officially sponsored by Mountain Dew Baja Blast Zero, because we're counting our calories.
Not, first of all, Mountain Dew Baja Blast Zero. Like, that's extremely specific. Extremely specific.
It's like Hollywood said in Mannequin. It was those jelly donuts calling to him in the night. I saw it in the gas station, and it called to me from the shelf. And it actually, in the right lighting, it matches D'Manda's dress.
Ooh. My niece, she's 10. She is currently obsessed with like the Mountain Dew. Is it like the new watermelon flavor?
Oh yeah, Major Melon.
Oh yeah, she's obsessed with that. So she gets that and the zero version. She loves it. I am not the biggest fan. Like, I'm like, oh, if I'm gonna like mix it in with something and like I'll have like one drink of it, that's fine. But I couldn't like just drink that as a soda.
I'm not a big soda person. It's just we got a break on the temperatures here, so I figured why not?
Oh, we sure did get a break. I'm gonna run and refill my beverage. I'll be right back.
Okay. So D'Manda, I also like to freak people out because they can't necessarily guess my age. I like to thank my great grandmother for the awesome genes because she was Swedish. But I tell people, you think Mountain Dew Major Melon's good? It's really a '90s soda pop that was called Tahitian Treat.
Tahitian Treat.
Yeah, it was like basically it was Hawaiian Punch carbonated.
Oh, interesting.
And if you gurgled that, their logo was basically like a beach with some palm trees.
Oh.
So we've got, so far, it's our regular Tommy and the Lady Janet, who is from another planet, but she's also from the Commonwealth there.
the Commonwealth.
Yes. I say a little bit about that in the official intro once we get underway here. Doop-de-doo. So
we're just gonna reapply while we're sitting.
Certainly. Oh, and my battery reached 100. Yay. Okay. So it's a Friday and it's July and we're all home.
We're still all home. although I mean I have been getting out recently, which has been fun.
Yeah, and Toppie's got some questions for you. Time for the hot lights. What's that song that it was remade recently, rumor has it.
Oh, yes.
Oh, and I think that we have our master of ceremonies rejoining us.
And
You're there, Mr. Smellie?
I'm here.
Okay. Well, I think that the party is gathered. What do you think?
Let's get her going.
All right. Good evening, and welcome to the beautiful historical Marionette Theater. Tonight we're gonna take a trip back in time just to the end of World War II. We're gonna enjoy a story about some things that didn't happen but would have been cool if they did. Please join your seats. This show is about to begin. Good evening, Mr. Smellie. How are you tonight? Did you have a nice drive into the theater? It was cool enough out. You could have had the top down on the old sports car.
Listen, if my top had been any downer, it would have been. No, I don't know what I'm saying, but it was lovely. Yeah, I mean, I would say an hour ago. I'm not sure about right now. An hour ago, it was my perfect temperature. Whatever it was, it felt great.
It has been, a little preview of my favorite time of year. I almost have been looking for the leaves to change color. It was that nice out.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah. Let's not go crazy.
I know, but it's been so beautiful lately. I hear they're organizing a stargazing party here at the theater. We'll have to find out more about that when our showgirl comes back from her little tryst she told us about. Of course, she gets a little shy when she hears that we've got fabulous ladies coming through.
Mm-hmm.
So, speaking of fabulous ladies, we have a special guest in the house, and she wanted to go ahead and tell us about tonight's movie.
New York reporter Polly Perkins is left with no choice but to look up an old flame when her city is suddenly attacked by giant robots. But Joe Sullivan is no ordinary pilot. He's the leader of an elite squadron. Better known as Sky Captain, he comes to the aid of his damsel as she seeks her source for the story. Will they solve the connection with the disappearance of the world's foremost scientists? Will Polly break the story first? Grab an overcoat and your best Veronica Lake look. It's time for Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow.
Hit it, boys.
What do you get when you take a dash of the silver screen, a pinch of golden oldies, and a smidgen of streaming? It's time for Matinee Minutia with your hosts DJ and Toppie.
Wow, DJ, who was that introduced the movie?
Oh, well, as you may have heard, our showgirl stand-in tonight is a star so bright she puts the Mary in Maryland. Please give a round of applause for a returning guest, Miss D'Manda Martini.
Yay!
Oh, hello, everyone. It's so wonderful to be back.
Well, we're really happy to have you back. This is unprecedented. We've to have a guest come back so many times, and we always love having you.
I always love coming back. So thank you for continuing to ask me back.
Yes, and DJ,
Mm-hmm.
if you could sum up the plot of this movie in three sentences, what would you say?
Okay. Well, there's an attack on New York. We've got some giant robots, a reporter who wants to break the big story, and she takes advantage of some connections she has to figure things out.
Awesome. Did we have a trailer?
We sure do. Here we go.
My God.
Emergency Protocol 90206, calling Sky Captain.
When the shadow of evil falls across mankind,
Come in, Sky Captain.
a bold flying ace
This is Sky Captain. I'm on my way.
one intrepid reporter,
What's this all about?
He's coming for me.
Who's coming?
and a courageous naval officer
What have you got me into this time, Joseph?
Nothing you can't handle, Frankie.
are all that stand between the enemies of the future and the world of tomorrow.
Cap, this is Dex. Do you read me? Come in.
Hang on, Dex. I'm a little busy.
Jude Law.
Hold on.
Gwenyth Paltrow.
Can't anything ever be simple with you?
And Angelina Jolie.
It's a pleasure to finally meet the competition.
Joe!
I see it!
Sky Captain and the world of tomorrow.
Wow. And our guest tonight, D'Manda, it looks like she could just step right onto that screen and be right in costume and play right into it.
I did consider doing like a full grayscale, but I was like, I don't have the time or effort.
D'Manda, the last time you were with us, we were kind of in the middle of the Great Plague. But I've noticed on your Twitter that you are getting out and about. And how's that transition been for you? You're actually performing in person at places.
Yes. So for a while, things in DC were all closed, and so like we slowly were transitioning. So I did do a live show. It was like in the middle, like, you know, right in the middle. It was like in like November. And it was very weird because it was like performing for an audience, which was great because, you know, I've been doing so much stuff at home. But it was like we couldn't touch anybody. They had like the butterfly nets for people to throw like tips in. So it's like, you know, you didn't touch anyone. So like it was very strange. Like I felt there was still like a big disconnect. But a friend of ours, or a friend of mine, Logan Stone, she got this great partnership with a new bar in DC called Tall Boy. And so before things really opened up, what they did is they did happy hours where they had drag guests come and we were just hosts. So we would just walk around and be like, hey, how is everybody? Like, does anybody need anything? I will go tell your server. So like we didn't serve anything. We didn't like make any drinks or like take any orders, but it was, you know, we were just there to sort of like engage with people. And from that, because those Monday nights became popular, when DC finally opened up, it just transitioned right into performances, which has been so much fun. So it has been great. So last weekend I had a show on Saturday and then a show that following Monday, and it was so much fun to like finally be like back and in person and like performing for people and like really get that like engagement with people, and also, to be honest, make money.
Sure.
Like digital drag, though fun, I love making you know, the music videos that I've been making and doing all of the appearances you know, on various podcasts or YouTube channels and all of that stuff. Like all of it's been great. Please don't get me wrong. Like I love doing it. I love talking about things that I enjoy, like movies and comic books and all that stuff. But there's no money in it. So it was nice to like actually like have people pay you for the service that you were doing. Which was, I mean, not that I do it strictly for the money either, because obviously I don't, because I do all of these other things. But it was just so awesome to like be like with people and have them like show appreciation for the work that you do.
Mm-hmm. Was it hard? Were you nervous going back to doing something live, or was it like just getting on the bike and riding again? Or
no, it was very nerve-wracking. So I've been doing drag for a long time, but I'm the Chanteuse of Southern Maryland. Like I'm down here in like my own little bubble, kind of doing like my own things and my own shows and, you know, like my cabaret and stuff. And so like I haven't performed a lot in like DC and more like sort of a mainstream, what people consider to be drag shows kind of capacity. Like I've done a few, but like this was like the first time that it was like, I shouldn't say first time, but I mean, it's been a long time since I've done that, and I haven't done it that much. So it was very nerve-wracking. I did 3 brand new numbers because I was like, listen, if we're gonna come out, we're gonna come out big. Like I'm not gonna do any of the stuff that, you know, I've been doing. So yeah, no, it was very nerve-wracking. I also felt like it was a little bit of a test kind of to be, you know, to be like, yes, I am here in the DC area and I am a performer and somebody that, you know, people would want to see, and that, you know, I have something to offer that's a little bit different than some of the other performers that are in the DC area.
Yeah, I think I don't know if the video I saw on Twitter was the DC performance you speak of, but I'm pretty sure you were in your Marvel Girl outfit.
Oh, Jean Grey, yes.
Yeah.
yes, yeah, that was in DC.
Okay.
So, and again, like I'm a little different than a lot of drag performers. Like I base all of my stuff from cosplay because that's kind of, you know, where I come from. And so yeah, I gave the children some Jean Grey, which is amazing. So the song that I was performing is called Jean Grey by an amazing artist called their name is Tunde Olanrian. I hope that I'm pronouncing that correctly. I still haven't heard anyone actually say it. So anyway, but Tunde and I have been talking over Instagram because when they saw my music video for that song, they like lost their mind being like, oh my gosh, yes. Like, I feel like I've made it because a drag performer has performed my song as Jean Grey. So like they like lost their mind when I also did it live and like shared the videos and stuff. Like they've been very, very lovely to like and share all of the stuff that I've been posting as well, which is awesome.
That's super. I'm really glad that you're back and you're making money again. But I mean,
yes.
It looked like you were just having a great time. So
yes, and hopefully, you know, some of the venues that I've worked at before down here for the cabaret, Eleanor's New Deal Cabaret, hopefully will be opening back up soon. There have been a couple of issues with some of them, like our main one, the New Deal Cafe in Greenbelt. They lost their food vendor, so they've been working hard on trying to get someone else, because obviously there's no point in them opening if they don't have food. So hopefully once they get that sort of squared away, we can start performing there again, and the cabaret can come back. We're looking for more venues down here in Southern Maryland. Again, just kind of bringing drag and musical theater to people who don't necessarily get to get out and see those kinds of things.
Awesome.
And you know, just to think, wasn't all that long ago where socially distanced drag meant boots and slipping dollars into slots.
Yeah, yes.
So D'Manda, we want to thank you for coming by this evening, and we have a film that we want to discuss with you. Now we actually like to put things into the frame of mind of the year that the film came out. So if you see that place where we call it setting the stage.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cue you in. Here is your teletype, ma'am.
All right. So, U.S. history in 2004. 2004 doesn't seem that long ago, but it sure was. So the NASA Mars rovers, Spirit and Opportunity, landed on Mars. You know, there's been a lot of talk of Mars these days, and that's so crazy that it didn't happen that long ago. Anyway, the city and county of San Francisco begins issuing same-sex marriage licenses as an act of civil disobedience. I remember this very clearly, and to think that, again, it was not that long ago, and, you know, look where we are today. Senator John Kerry wins the Democratic nomination for president. I completely forgot that he ran. The last Oldsmobile car rolls off the assembly line. Massachusetts legalizes same-sex marriage. which again blows my mind. President Ronald Reagan died at 93. Construction begins on the Independence Tower at the site of the former World Trade Center. New Jersey Governor James McGreevey publicly announces he is gay and resigning in November. Okay, so he didn't just announce he was gay, he was caught cheating on his wife. And then he was like, oh, but I'm like actually gay. And that kind of like started a whole thing where like when people got caught in sort of like bad situations where they were just like, oh, but I'm gay, so I'm sorry. Like very like more recently it was like Kevin Spacey was like, I didn't mean it, I'm just gay. And I'm like, no, Kevin Spacey, no. Chinese PC producer Lenovo buys IBM's global PC manufacturing business. Again, 2004 does not seem like that it was that long ago. I had graduated from college and living in Pittsburgh at the time, trying to find a job, any job, and couldn't find one. And then halfway through the year, I moved home here to La Plata and worked at a butcher deli. Cutting meat. 2004 was a very strange year.
Pittsburgh, eh? Were you chasing your queer as folk dream?
Kind of, yeah. So a friend of mine, Melissa, she lived in Pittsburgh because she was going to Point Park, now university. At that time it was still called Point Park College. And so we lived right over the Hot Middle Bridge in the South Side. It was super fun. We had a cute little townhouse. The problem was that we were all poor. I didn't have a job, and the other two roommates were still in college, and we just seemed like we couldn't catch a break to like, you know, like get out. So like the plan was that I was gonna live in Pittsburgh with them, and we were gonna work in theater, and we were gonna like do it and like be artists and all of this stuff, but I just couldn't find like that first job to like pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually my parents were just like, yeah, we already did the whole paying for you to go to college. We're not paying for you to live out of state. So I had 3 theater gigs, and none of them paid anything. I think they paid like $200 a piece at the end of the run. I mean, it was a fun time. I kind of call it my lost semester, because also I graduated college early. So I had like a whole semester that I lived in Pittsburgh instead, and it was fun, but it was definitely not the best situation.
So 2004, Toppie, it wasn't all that long ago. So we don't have anybody who really has made a name for themselves on the Hollywood Walk of Fame just yet. Who were some of the celebrities that left the world in 2004?
Well, we got a lot of familiar names. Ann Miller, she was a dancer and actress that went way back. I think her last huge hurrah was on Broadway in a rousing, what did they call this kind of theater? When you have a program that's a bunch of songs.
Oh, medley?
Well, it's not
like a review.
A review, thank you. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was with Mickey Rooney, and it was called Sugar Daddy. Sugar Babies. Sugar Daddy. Sugar Baby. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that was like a really bad last big hurrah, I think. And then we had Jack Parr, who was the original host of the late night talk show that Johnny Carson took over. And we had Cicely Adams, who died way too young at the age of 46, and she was Moogie on Deep Space Nine. Did I say that right, DJ? Moogie?
You did, and I think she was also Dawn Adams from Get Smart's daughter.
Oh, all right. Also, the wonderful actor Paul Winfield died that year. So did Tony Randall, most well-known probably for The Odd Couple on TV with Jack Klugman. Ray Charles, the singer-musician, died that year. So did Marlon Brando. and they buried him in a coffin, in a piano case. No, that's not true at all. Jerry Goldsmith, the musician composer, Rick James, another singer and musician, and our dear Julia Child, the renowned French chef and author of many books, and she was just a beloved personality. That Julia Child and Rodney Dangerfield passed away. So did Christopher Reeves, legendary for Superman, the Superman movies, and actress Janet Lee, I'm sorry, who's the mama to Jamie Curtis.
Mhm.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
And known for her ability to scream.
Yes, they were scream queens. They were.
Okay, so Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow. It was a film. It dazzled us on the silver screen. And in 2004, the top of the box office was consisting of Shrek 2 at 441 million. Of course, that had the voices of, was it Mike Myers in that?
Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy and Cameron Diaz.
Yes, and it was a year of sequels. Number 2 at the box office that year was Spider-Man 2 at 373 million. That still had Tobey Maguire at the time. Number 3, I don't usually mention this movie, but Mr. Tinfoil Hat was involved with it. The Passion of the Christ brought in 370 million that year, and some of us had an Easter meal. And number 4 was the sort of a middle of the run of the Harry Potter series, Prisoner of Azkaban, brought in 249 million. Now, we here at Matinee Minutia at the Marionette Theater, we are a lover of the underdog, so it wouldn't be any surprise that runner-up was to this film was Ella Enchanted, which had the voices of Anne Hathaway and Joanna Lumley. And for those of you British sitcom fans, she was Patsy in Absolutely Fabulous. And one lower was Agent Cody Banks, the sequel.
That was a thing. It was a movie that happened.
It had Frankie Muniz from Malcolm in the Middle. And then the bottom rung there was Around the World in 80 Days. Now, it wasn't a bad film. In fact, it has one of my favorite action film star, Jackie Chan, who's legendary because he does his own stunts. Okay, so D'Manda, I hope that you're ready. We got the hot lights warming up just for you. So my first question for you about the film we're discussing tonight, Sky Captain, it takes place in sort of an alternate version of time. It's 1939, and in one of the early scenes of the film, we see the Hindenburg 3 docking at the Empire State Building. Of course, we know the Hindenburg, well, she met with a sad fate. So as an example of alternate history, do you generally like these types of movies, alternate history stories?
So if you guys can see, I'm a huge fan of the X-Men. For those of you who are watching us on YouTube or whatever, and the X-Men are all about alternate timelines, alternate history, alternate stories. So I do enjoy that. I think a lot of the fun episodes of TV shows that we watch, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, or I'm trying to think what some of the other ones. It's always like when there's that one thing that changed history, and so you're interested to know how things are different and why things are different. So yeah, I love a fun altered history. I think it allows people to be creative and really show how the world can be a very different place, but at the same time the same place, and still be very relatable and interesting. I'm trying to think of off the top of my head. I'm looking at my giant DVD collection if there's anything that is also sort of like that I could sort of talk about. Not really, like nothing's jumping out at me, but no, I do love those. I think it's cool. It's just sort of it's interesting because it can sort of take your expectations and turn it on its head, because you think that what could happen, but because something has changed, you don't know what will happen. So
Okay, well, that's certainly what draws me in with stories like this, seeing what might have happened if this was different. So, oh, right. Well, because the
Tommy in the chat room said mentioned the Crisis on Infinite Earths,
yes,
which was one of DC's. DC was filled with
they have
alternate.
the whole multiverse. So like right now I'm rewatching the Justice League cartoon series. So it started by watching Batman the animated series and Superman the animated series, and then the subsequent Justice League cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the best ones, it's always them going to an alternate universe or an alternate timeline, traveling in time. Just because I think with DC and also the X-Men with like a multiverse, it is the most interesting to especially long-term fans when it's like, oh, what, you're taking like my favorite character and then they're completely different because of this one small thing that's happened.
Yeah, I remember being the Marvel zombie that I was, still am, that I always thought, I'm so glad Marvel doesn't do this multi-universe shit, because I like having everybody here and we're all in the same universe. And although Marvel did have an alternate Earth that orbited the sun exactly opposite of our Earth, and there was an alternate civilization there. There were a few others floating around, but basically it was a single universe thing. But now Marvel's like totally multiverse.
So, and I mean, the thing is that Marvel has kind of always been multiverse. It's just they didn't fall into the same trap as DC, because what DC did is, because DC had been around longer, they had the issue of already having these characters that were around for like 30 to 40 years, and then comic books becoming popular, so they needed to figure out a way to get these characters who were around in the 30s and 40s to not be 100 years old. So they had to like, nope, that's Earth 2 where time runs differently, and that's a whole different thing over there. And then again, because they like Marvel's sort of way of getting around like all the time stuff is just they have a sliding time scale where everything is only like 10 or so years ago, like whatever that it's always 10 or so years ago, where DC is like, oh nope, we're just rebooting the whole universe every 10 to 15 years. They're rebooting everything, and everybody's starting back at number one and getting a whole new origin story, which also for a long-term fan gets exhausting, which is why I'm not as big of a DC person as I am a Marvel person, because they love a hard reboot. They just like hit the button, restart it. Where Marvel like tries to retcon or like work its way around so it's not like super crazy. But
well, I enjoyed the Sky Captain for that part of it, because it felt like I was looking at a movie from the 30s, but it was showing me something from the future, and so it was a weird kind of way to get into it. And I want to talk about the director just for a few minutes, because the only reason this movie got made was because of this director. He also wrote the thing, and his name is Kerry Conran. And the thing about this guy is it's pretty much all he's done. And the reason for that is he started working on it years before it ever became released, and he was working on it when he was a kid, and he got his brother in on it, and they were using old computers. And as the technology kept going, they kept finding better ways to do what he wanted, because the thing he always wanted to do was to present this a modern adventure film, but in a almost completely made up world, because he loved King Kong, he loved Lost Horizon, he loved Flash Gordon, he loved Metropolis, and it's what he wanted to do. He was also very, very interested in animation, and so he had this vision for this movie that obviously changed a lot as it went along, but he was working on it when, on a crude Mac way back when, and then he got, a better computer, and finally he compiled a short movie that was something like Sky Captain. And he took it to Hollywood and said, all right, who wants to do this? I think it's incredible that he found somebody that would take this on, considering he'd never done a movie before. This is his first feature-length movie. So I just love that. It's like he was born to do this movie.
And I know that a lot of the build up to having this film made was creating a short film that they used in part to guide the cast as they were filming it. So on the DVD and the Blu-ray, there is the original, I think, 7-minute short film that is what he used to pitch to the studios to get the funding to make it.
Right.
But that's part of his background, as well as he studied animation, and he studied under I'm forgetting his first name, but a very industry known person, Bill Gaddis, who is actually the father of Dallas, the Dallas TV series Miss Ellie's daddy. Anyways.
Oh, okay.
But he actually worked for the animation houses that people like Disney would often hire from. So that was part of his background that helped him get this film made. So we are at about the halfway mark in our show. We're going to step on over here to the refreshment stand. And while Madame Gertie is out of the house tonight, it's open bar. Woohoo! So grab yourself a top shelf bottle and listen to the cast of Sky Captain as they talk about their insights into the film. And this is for a little bit over 3 minutes.
This film, it's a healthy mix of action, science fiction, adventure, comedy, romance in the genre of Flash Gordon and Indiana Jones.
Get ready to make a run for it. It has all those elements of really classic 1930s, 1940s films. Heroicism and mystery, but it also has this amazing modern edge to it.
I don't think anybody's ever seen anything like it. I think people would just really be fascinated by the way it looks, because it looks completely new and super cool.
We're shooting here at the George Lucas stage in London, where he shot the first Star Wars. It was a favourite of his, and we're here with perhaps the next stage in filmmaking.
My God, what is this?
The world that we wanted to create on this film, we couldn't have created in any kind of conventional way. Every scene was kind of handcrafted. Every single shot is visual effects.
What's unique about this film is that it's a retro sci-fi piece.
The signal's coming from one of those machines. You've got to keep them in one piece.
I thought there was a chance here to do something actually quite amazing.
Which machine is it, Dex?
Sky Captain is a hero who's got a twinkle in his eye. It's similar in some ways to Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones.
Joe, look out!
I've played parts in the past that have had, stunt sequences or action sequences, but never someone who just basically did action sequences all the time. And it's kind of nice to have the simplicity of that in a role.
It's really fun to play somebody who has a lot of sass and moxie and is kind of getting in the center of things and running around, even if she has very high heels on.
This had better be important, or one of us is in trouble. She knows Jude's character, Sky Captain, from a few years ago. And we're not exactly sure what happened, whether they were madly in love or whether they nearly killed each other, but they have a past.
Enemy target spotted 4 points to the right. Look sharp.
It makes it totally limitless. They can set it wherever they like. They can put all kinds of effects and scenery in the scene.
Everything was to be added afterwards, with the exception of a very few environments and key props that you pick up and actually use. I'd never shot a film like it. The whole thing had to be made on blue screen. In a way, like a theatre, like an empty space in a theatre.
They have to imagine this world that hasn't yet been created. There literally is nothing for them to play against because it was so different, because the time we had to kind of shoot it was so limited. I knew there was going to be problems, things that we didn't expect to happen. But we figured them out before we actually started shooting.
Well, essentially, we've made the movie twice, because in order to be prepared for London, where we're going to shoot the actors, we made the show in animatic form, and then went to London and replaced all the live action with Gwenyth and Jude and Angelina and everyone else.
They have an animatic version of the entire movie. We get to watch a scene already done on computer before we step in and do it ourselves, which is great because it's all edited. They know exactly what shots they need. I mean, thank God for the animatics that give you a sense of what it's going to look like. So it's not only just acting to a big blue cavern.
I think a lot of people don't make this much effort in films anymore.
I've never seen anyone who's used the technology we know we have at our fingertips in the computers this artfully, this gracefully, and with this much style.
Hey, and we are back. So we were just discussing the director of this film, Mr. Kerry Conran, and we're just going to move on to talk about the others who made up this terrific cast. D'Manda, if you will, go ahead and let us know a little bit about the leading lady in this film, Miss Gwenyth Paltrow.
Sure. So Gwenyth Paltrow, who is the daughter of actress Blythe Danner, she was born in LA. She, like in her first 5 years, she averaged about 1 movie a year. Her earliest works were 1991 in Shout with John Travolta, and something that I, upon rewatching recently, remembered that she played young Wendy in Hook. So not like little girl Wendy, but like when Wendy was like grown up and like a lady, a young woman that Peter was like, you're old. What's going on? Of course, with Robin Williams and of course Dame Maggie Smith as Nana Wendy. And a year later, she had her first leading role in Jefferson in Paris with Nick Nolte, by the director of Maurice and Howard's End. Sky Captain was her 27th film.
Wow.
She did win an Oscar for Shakespeare in Love. I'm trying to remember what year that was. Is that 97?
Don't know.
97. Sorry, that's not in the script. I'm just remembering. And she would star in 8 films over the next 5 years that followed, leading up to, of course, her now very famous long-term role as Pepper Potts in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, starting with Iron Man 1.
Mm-hmm. And so Gwenyth played the sultry blonde heroine in the movie, who was the reporter with that crazy camera. Who else did we have, DJ?
Okay, well, the love interest, the old flame, was played none other than by English pretty boy Jude Law. And of course, he was born in the UK, and he began acting in television. His first role was in 1994, a film called Shopping, which was directed by Paul Anderson, who also made Event Horizon and the Resident Evil series. Jude Law starred in 12 films in his first 5 years, and the movie he did just prior to Sky Captain was called Cold Mountain in 2003, and it starred Nicole Kidman, and it was about a U.S. Civil War veteran. And Sky Captain was his 18th film. Jude Law would star in 12 more films in the next 5 years.
and Jude Law and Gwyneth Paltrow were also in Gattaca together. Have you guys seen Gattaca?
I have.
Yeah.
I think that they accomplished quite a bit for not actually showing the technology of that future.
Yes, agreed. When this came out, I was just like, oh, are they doing another movie together? I was like, is this when there were previews for this, and I'm like, didn't they just do a movie together? Of course, it's obviously a while in between them, but yeah. Sorry, just a small tangent.
Toppie, you had a question for D'Manda there. The second question.
Well, I really enjoyed seeing you doing cosplay at conventions over the last couple of years that I've known you. And I know, obviously, you are not just into it, but I mean, it is a huge part of your life. And I actually think I know the answer to this because I think I've seen the look. But do you have a wartime era cosplay that you do?
So, so one that I would actually really like to do that I have not done yet. I need to do like a classic Wonder Woman from that era. But one that I do have that is kind of this era, being that it was technically World War II-ish, is Silk Spectre from the Watchmen series. Sorry, my fan is blowing my hair all over my face. So with like the bumper bang and the victory rolls and the and the hairnet, she's also very, very sexy, very sultry. I'm trying to think, and I don't think I have like a lot of like my aesthetic outside of cosplay, as you can kind of see, is kind of like that mid 20th century 1940s through early 60s kind of aesthetic. So like so a lot of those looks I'm really into.
I think I've seen and maybe this is what you described really, but you were like doggone it, but they were they were the women that participated in World War II. They had a name, but you had the hat and you looked very...
Oh yes, I'm sorry, yes. So it was a USO version.
Yes, a USO.
Yes, a USO version of Dazzler. So for those of you who sort of like have followed comics for a long time, the DC universe a few years ago, maybe even close to 10 years ago, came out with something called the Bombshell series, where they took their superheroines and put them in sort of that vintage pinup style. For example, just because she's sitting right here, this is Bombshell Wonder Woman. It has a very Rosie the Riveter kind of aesthetic. So anyway, so DC had been doing that for a few years. So there is an artist that I follow on Instagram. His name is Sergey Torres, and he is also known as X-Men Fan T-shirts on Instagram. And he released a whole series of Bombshell X-Men characters. And Dazzler very easily lent herself to be a USO singer. And so I decided that I needed to do that look. And so I have done, so Bombshell Dazzler is a look that I have done a few times now. I originally wore her at Dragon Con back in 2019. And subsequently she's been in a music video that I did. And then I recently performed as her in Baltimore at the Baltimore Eagle last Saturday.
Awesome. Tommy Hash Browns in our chat room suggests a great character for you, Agent Carter.
So I do like Peggy. I do like Peggy Carter. Please don't get me wrong. That is not something that I'm like necessarily looking to do. I've talked about this a lot on other podcasts that I've sort of that I've been guests on when people suggest characters for me. When I've seen a character done and done well, I'm just like, I can just check it off my list. I don't need to do it. Like I'm not going to do it any better than these people. I mean, maybe eventually, you know, I might be like, oh, I have a blue overcoat, sure, and a red hat. But it's not something that I'm looking to do just because I've seen it done so well by many other cosplayers. So I'm kind of like, what am I going to add to the conversation?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
So you've seen at least a few Agent Carters out there.
Well, and that's kind of the other thing too. And again, this is not any sort of like disrespect or shade on any cosplayers, but like there are definitely certain characters that become popular. A lot of just MCU characters in general have become extremely popular for a lot of cosplayers. And Peggy Carter is first of all a badass, so I get why people like her. But she also has a relatively simple look in the sense that it's like kind of regular clothes. I mean, some of it, I mean, you still have to shop for, like, especially if you're going to do like her uniform. But I mean, it's something that a lot of cosplayers can easily get. So a lot of people do it. So again, not something that I necessarily look for. Again, a lot of my cosplay more deals with Z-list, D-list characters, whereas like Peggy, because of the MCU, has really become very popular. And they even brought her back in the comics as a different character. She runs a whole spy agency now and like has red hair for some reason. And
I really enjoyed the mid 70s, early 70s Steve Englehart Captain America, where Peggy Carter was reintroduced as a woman about the age she should have been, you know, and she was having Captain America was really having a problem because they were lovers. And here they are so separated by age. And unfortunately, Peggy got the impression somehow that Captain America and she were the same age because she just wasn't getting the fact that they were distanced now in age because he was in suspended animation. And so he would appear before her and be very gentle with her without destroying the illusion she had created that they were still in love and they were still. That was a great storyline way back then. Anyways, about this movie.
I was just about to say, D'Manda, your bombshell dazzler look, it wouldn't take much tweaking, and you could be Olivia Newton-John and Xanadu.
I'm fully aware of that as well.
All right, let me get into the last of our lovely ladies in this movie, Angelina Jolie, who isn't in it a lot, but she's great in what she does, and she portrays this kind of pinch hitter for our hero, the Sky Captain, and we know they have a history. We're not sure whether, we're really not sure what happened. I mean, it could have been they were lovers. It could have been they couldn't stand each other, but they got along. We're not really sure. But at least at this point, Angelina Jolie has the Sky Captain's back, and she appears in the nick of time in several moments in the movie. So Angelina Jolie was born in LA, and she's the daughter of actor Jon Voight. She starred in her first movie in 1982 at the age of 7. And that was a movie called Looking to Get Out. And she was in that with Jon Voight, her father. And that was directed by Hal Ashby. Then her first leading role was in Hackers in 1995 with her future first husband, Johnny Lee Miller. And Sky Captain was Jolie's 19th film, averaging 7 films within 5 years. And after Sky Captain, she starred in 8 movies over the next 5 years, including Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Brad Pitt, The Changeling, which was directed by Clint Eastwood, about a mother's fight with the LAPD in 1982. 1928, sorry, over her missing son, which was a real story. And if you ever catch it, it's like, it's a strange story. Strange story.
When Angelina Jolie also won the Oscar for Girl Interrupted, which was 95
with Winona Ryder.
Yeah, ish. It's just interesting that the two ladies have Oscars. Jude Law does not. I think he was nominated early in his career, but I don't think he's ever won anything.
And D'Manda, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the star of The Handmaid's Tale on Netflix also part of the cast of Girl Interrupted?
Possibly. I haven't seen Girl Interrupted in forever, and I have not watched Handmaid's Tale.
So. I haven't either. I just know that the actress who's on that played Martin Sheen's TV daughter on The West Wing.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And she was on MatMin.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's another good show. Mm-hmm. So, D'Manda, that brings me to a question I have in mind. Now, I know my answer, but, dazzle us, if you will, with your answer to this. Who's your favorite character in Sky Captain?
Favorite character, favorite actor?
Ooh, well, you could give us one of each.
I'm just looking at the script that says actor. So character, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, you guys. I did not like this movie. So it was my first time watching it when you guys asked me to join you on this episode, and so I watched it. It is available on Amazon Prime, and it was not my favorite. It was. I love camp. I love alternate histories. Like everything about it seemed. I was like, oh, I should like this, but I didn't like it. So a lot of the characters were very, again, because of the sort of time frame that it was supposed to take place in, as well as like there's also like the tropes of when a modern movie takes place in the past. It's like they're trying to fight stereotypes, but it's like they try to fight too hard, and then the characters just become kind of annoying. So I didn't care for a lot of them, and subsequently, of the two or of the three actors, that are like the main actors, I kind of don't like any of them either. Like Jude Law, I used to like him a lot, and then he slept with his nanny, and that was just kind of something that just kind of turned me off about him. Gwenyth Paltrow is crazy pants. I will say this though about Gwenyth Paltrow. So many years ago, I want to say it was maybe like late 90s, early 2000s. She appeared on Oprah. And sorry, I'm just gonna turn off this fan. Sorry. I usually keep a fan on because it's so hot up in my room, but like my hair is just getting on my nerves. Anyway, but she was on Oprah, and one of the audience members on Oprah asked her the question, "Oh my gosh, Gwenyth Paltrow, how do you stay so thin? What is your diet secrets?" Yeah. And Gwenyth Paltrow was just like, well, and she was answering honestly, and so you could tell she was like processing. She was like, well, I kind of eat whatever I want to. So, but I try, and like, of course, the guy's like, ooh, she eats whatever she wants to. And she goes, wait, stop. She's like, yes, I eat whatever I want to. But she's like, but I also work out for 4 hours a day, 6 days a week. And they were all like, oh, she's like, yeah. She's like, it's my job to look like this. So I have to do things in order to maintain looking like this. She's like, it is a real job. It is something that like I'm always thinking about. So she's like, yeah, I can eat whatever I want because I know the next day I'm going to be working out for 4 hours that day. She's like, it's what I do. She's like, when I'm not shooting, I am on a very strict schedule of, and I felt like that very honest answer was something that a lot of people hadn't really been talking about up to that point. You're like, oh, just, a little just a little exercise and champagne, or something stupid like that to say. And I just really appreciate like her honestly being like, so you who work 8 hours a day in an office and then come home and don't have time to work out because then you're taking care of your kids, you can't do the I eat whatever I want Gwyneth Paltrow diet because you're not working out for 6 hours a day. It's again, I did appreciate that. And I have never been team Angelina Jolie. And then when she stole Brad Pitt from Jennifer Aniston, I got even more angry with her. So I just don't care for her. Usually if I see her in a movie, I'm really like I just don't care for her. There's something about her that just really kind of irritates me. Like a few years ago, she was in that movie Salt about like the spy. I didn't want to go see it, but a friend of mine really wanted to see it. And I'm like, I don't know, it's Angelina Jolie. It was okay. There was nothing like extra special about the movie. It was very formulaic spy who was brainwashed. It was very Born Identity kind of a thing. But so again, if I would have seen this movie in 2004, I'd probably have a very different opinion of it. But seeing it just a few weeks ago with like, the world as it is.
Yeah. DJ, what about you? You were going to say your favorite actor in the cast.
Yeah, so D'Manda, I'm not that long ago we discussed the movie Jeffrey with Patrick Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
And of course there was a very famous scene where they're on a game show and they're asked, who would your dream date be? And his answer was Yoko Ono to see The Apartment.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is not my answer on who's my favorite, but, I'd go on a date with Gwyneth Paltrow if I got to meet Blythe Danner.
I'd really like to meet your mom.
Right. I mean, they say that our parents are who we become later anyway, so I hope so. But no, I would say not polar opposite of your opinion of the world, D'Manda, but of the three that were in this cast, I think that I enjoyed Angelina Jolie just for the character that she played, because if you're basing things on this being alternate history, her character was the most different of them all. I mean, I don't know that in 1939 a woman was able to be much more than just a nurse in the army of the UK. So just the fact that she was not only an officer, but she was the commanding officer of a mobile, aircraft carrier, basically, that was pretty badass to me. So I think that Frankie was her name. I think Frankie was my favorite character in the film. And I'm sure that the story behind her and Joe Sullivan, Sky Captain, their little tryst there is the reason why she wears an eye patch.
Well, I'll just say I just liked looking at young Jude Law, and I thought he was a great. He was good in this. Now, I'll say this about the movie. The plot is pretty skimpy, and the characters are pretty comic booky and not exactly fleshed out, and their motivations are all right out there. I mean, there's no subtlety about any of it. And so the story was just like, okay for me. But what really got me about this movie was the look of it. And I was fascinated by the color palette. And I was fascinated by what they chose to show and what they didn't show. And the very old-timey film use of old tropes like the spinning newspaper, all those things, ways to show that time had passed, and the headlines in the paper, and all those old movie tropes. There were like so many nods to wonderful old movies that I love. And I fell in love with it mostly for its look, which I thought was just kind of brilliant. And I've never seen anything that really looked like this. There's not a single frame of that movie that isn't artificial in every way. There's a few props that they hold on to that are real, but other than that, it's all made up. And I just find that like that's kind of an achievement, I think.
So I'm gonna recant a little bit. My favorite actor in this movie was Laurence Olivier.
Ha! Now I gotta ask you guys about this because I'm watching this movie and I'm the guy that sits and watches the goddamn credits. And you better fucking get in your seat and sit down and not block me from watching the credits. Anyways, I was watching the credits and I said, Laurence Olivier, wait a minute. And I go back. So he's the old guy that gets killed off at the beginning. No, I guess it could, but no. It took me forever to figure out who he was in the movie. And I didn't even realize he was dead.
Yes.
Anyways, that threw me because I couldn't figure out who the hell, what part he played. And I finally figured it out. But yeah, that was kind of neat.
Well,
so I was just gonna say I don't disagree with you that the movie's look is very different. However, again, because I saw it just a few weeks ago instead of like when it came out, and I honestly don't know which one kind of came out first, but I was a huge fan of Sin City when it came out, and then The Spirit, which did not do as well, but still two comic book movies based very heavily in that sort of like noir stylized, again shot a lot on blue screen and green screen, and I feel like, again, you were saying so for me, I had already seen movies that did it better. So watching Sky Captain, I was like, okay, yeah, this was around the same time that these movies came out, so I can kind of see how this trend played out. But again, like those, in my opinion, those movies did it better. So again, it sort of like tinged my opinion of watching this, 15 years later.
Yeah, part of the look of the movies, everything has this artifice. And D'Manda, you used a word when you did a blurb on Twitter about this. You didn't call it steampunk.
No, it's called diesel punk.
Diesel punk.
So
okay,
because it's I stole it from Wikipedia. So it's because steampunk is when you're talking about like Victorian Industrial Revolution sort of stuff, and taking technology that's based in like steam engines. Diesel punk is what this movie is, meaning that it's that 1930s to 1960s, before like more science fiction, like Star Trek kind of space stuff.
Like just an example, sorry to interrupt, but just visually an example is all the machines had rivets.
Yes.
Visible rivets.
Yeah, which again is very much the technology and look of the time, because that's how you would imagine in 1939 and 1940 how things would still be constructed and put together.
Yeah.
Which is also why I didn't necessarily like, and now I can't remember the actress's name, but she's the femme fatale villain of the movie, and you find out at the end that she's also a robot.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why I didn't like her robot, because I'm like, I feel like that design and that look didn't fit in with what all of the other stuff that we were seeing.
Yeah, she did not have rivets.
Yeah,
but it was the whole thing had an interesting visual gestalt that I think hung together. Now let me tell you two things where I just lost it. And by lost it, I mean like rolled my eyes up and said, "Oh, okay, all right." Do you guys remember, or did you catch on to how freaking many times either Jude Law or Gwenyth Paltrow dived to the floor because they were either going to get stepped on or they were dodging. And sometimes they dodged to the floor together. The two of them face planted about 20 times in this movie. It kept happening. And I was just like, oh my God, if I see this one more time.
But at the same time, if you're acting on a blue screen, what else are you going to do? Jump on the floor.
I guess that was the direction for I don't know what, just jump on the floor.
Well, Gwyneth Paltrow was reaching for the Tic Tac she dropped.
Honestly.
Another sort of diesel punk example, sorry, it just kind of came to me because, again, I've just been watching it, is that Batman the Animated Series. Like, it definitely has that very stylized of like the 40s and 50s, but still has the technology of modern times, but it still has that that look of that time period.
Man, did you ever see those wonderful color animated Superman movies from the Fleischer Studio?
I have seen clips of them. I can't say that I've seen like the full films, but I've definitely seen clips of them as part of like a Superman sort of special.
Yeah, he had to be the director had to be influenced by the look of those Superman movies.
I bet.
The other thing that just made me groan and like go, okay, were those damn metal things that had rivets and they flapped their wings. Get out of here. Just stop it already.
They looked like aluminum foil pterodactyls.
Yes.
I just thought no, you've ruined it. That's not a good choice. Not a good choice. Anyway.
So before we wrap things up, we have arrived at a section we like to call our snack tray, because this is what's left over after the big meal of the junk, So I'll go ahead and give you an idea of something else you might enjoy if you liked Sky Captain. Maybe you saw it the first time and you want to see something else like it. So I kind of changed my mind on this. I actually was going to say Sin City. Now, I have not actually watched it yet. I'm iffy because Bruce Willis is in it, but I'll forgive him and I'll watch it because
he's one of the better parts of the movie, particularly meaning that his character arc is kind of like a through line of the film, and his is a very good storyline.
Okay, well, that's unofficially my recommendation. What I'm actually going to recommend instead is a film that was made, let's see, what year was this? It was just the year before Sky Captain, and it was set in Victorian times, starring Sean Connery, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And
I have it. It's right over here in my
so the story is in an alternate Victorian age world. A group of famous contemporary fantasy, science fiction, and adventure characters team up on a secret mission, and Sean Connery's character is Alan Quatermain.
I would recommend reading the comic books over the movie. There were lots of liberties and awkwardness taken in the movie. The movie is still fun. It's one of those movies that I will still pop in and just watch when I want to watch something kind of fun and silly. The books are the comic books actually focus more on Mina, the character from the Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula. She definitely becomes more of the leader than Alan Quatermain, but having a female run superhero movie, absolutely not. But it's still fun. I would still recommend it.
Mm-hmm. Did you have something that Sky Captain reminded you of, and you just felt like, gee, if people like that, they might like this?
I'll still say Sin City. Again,
Sin City.
If you want to see something that is this same vein, but in my opinion done better, it is definitely more. It's not as campy. It's still camp, but it's not as campy, meaning that it's not as like kid friendly. Like, it is definitely very adult. Lots of blood, lots of violence, lots of sex, drugs, murder, yada yada yada. because it's also by Frank Miller. If you
Yeah.
know Frank Miller, any of his work. But it still has that very interesting feel. Again, everything's in black and white except for some certain things. Like there's one of the most one of the things that I really loved about it is there are definitely some characters that there's something that is colored on them, then there's a reason that they're colored. So like one of the stories is called The Yellow Bastard. So he is yellow. And there's a character later in the movies, and her name is Blue Eyes. And so again, the whole movie is black and white, except she's got blue eyes. Played by Alexis Bledel from the Gilmore Girls. But yeah, and also it's another movie, again, kind of in like the early aughts where it's like ensemble where it's just kind of like a who's who of Hollywood from that time period, which is like a snapshot of if you could take like Teen People, Vogue magazine, and Hollywood of 2004. That's anyone that you knew was in that movie.
Oh, Tommy Hash Browns is reminding me of why a lot of people are not huge fans of Frank Miller. I guess he was he was a bit of a homophobic jerk, as Tommy puts it. Yeah, but I first came across him on Daredevil in Marvel and was a huge fan. And, once he left that, and sure, I looked at his marvelous Batman breakthrough graphic novel. Yeah, and but beyond that, I've sort of lost touch with him. So here's my recommendations. If you really liked the gestalt of the movie, the look of the movie, why not treat yourself and go back to one of the original sources, the 1930s serialized movies of Flash Gordon, and dig those riveted spaceships as they did them back then. At least watch one episode. I mean, they have their own charm to them, and obviously the guy that made this movie was in love with that whole look. And the other movie, if you like that black and white, that stylized look, in a completely different kind of movie, Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid with Steve Martin, is a wonderful comedy that mixes old black and white Hollywood actors and footages, creates a whole new story, and it is rather artfully, and it's got a little bit of what was going on there in Sky Captain. Did you ever see that one, D'Manda?
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't say. Well, maybe I would. It's an early Steve Martin movie. He also did Pennies from Heaven, which was also stylized black and white. So Steve Martin was very interested in that. Now, Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, I think, was directed by Doe, the guy that did the Dick Van Dyke Show. Doe. Did he just pass? He's like ancient now. Carl Reiner. Okay. I believe directed Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid. Anyways, it just plays with that black and white look so lovely, the way Sky King did. There, that's it. Those are my recommendations.
Oh, righty. So, D'Manda, we normally just walk out here to the lobby of the theater and let our folks in the chat room know what's coming down the pike. But I want to thank you for dropping by this evening and just regaling us with your fabulousness. And if there's no restraining order involved, let the listeners know where they could find you on the interwebs.
So yes, if you would like to hear more of my opinions, I have lots of them. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at D'Manda Martini, DMANDA MARTINI. If you are, one of these newfangled kids on the interwebs, you can also find me on TikTok. I also guest regularly on a podcast called Power of X-Men, which is, again, if you're a big X-Men nerd like I am, they have shows that come out every week. Super fun. I'm just trying to think. And also, if you are in the DC area and you are a convention goer, I will be at BlurredCon. That is coming up on July 16th. It's the 16th, 17th, and 18th. I will be at the Dax exclamation point booth with my friend Dax. We will be there all weekend in festive matching looks. And yeah, so come say hi.
Very nice. Well, I'm so happy you're getting out there again, and that just conventions and all that stuff is just coming back to life.
I mean, and I also just got an email back from our dear friends at Farpoint, so you will probably catch me at Farpoint in February.
Oh yes, we intend to be there in person.
All right.
Well, D'Manda, if you could reach up on that shelf there. The Marionette Theater is a celebrated venue. We were once home to the likes of vaudeville. Well, once even had a magician pass through these doors, and just like dirty laundry, he left a bag of coins. Could you hand me that bag of coins there?
Absolutely.
Alrighty, so pass that over to me, Toppie.
All right, here you go.
All right, so we do the show the first and third Friday of each month, and the next time we get together will be Friday, July 18th. Next time on Nat Nusha, from the director of Murder on the Orient Express. The television network cynically exploits a deranged former anchor's ravings and revelations about the news media for its own profit. This film stars the star of Bonnie and Clyde, Faye Dunaway, and from the towering Inferno, William Holden. Next time on Matinee Minutia Network.
Fabulous old movie. And by the way, that movie presaged what would come in television. It really was visionary, because way back when this movie was made, ain't nobody heard of, I don't know, whack job talk show hosts like, who's the guy that does the worst of them, the worst of those stupid... Jerry Springer. Okay, this movie presages years before Jerry Springer's and all of their like. And reality TV, it's amazing how accurate network was, and far before any of it came true. And it's a good movie.
Well, sir, we are out here at the lobby, and it's time to give the the old style goodbye. So if you would please say good night, Gracie.
All right, imagine me. I'm in black and white, and there's a little bit of, I'm a little blurry because it's old television. Say good night, Gracie.
D'Manda, good night.
Oh, good night.
Thank you for listening to Matinee Minutia. Our show streams live the first and third Friday of each month.
Go to univozpods.net, click the tower for audio, enter Discord for chat.
You can find this show wherever you listen to podcasts.
Tweet us on Twitter at Matinee Minutia.
Join our Facebook group.
Visit our webpage at matineeminutia.com.
Have an idea for a future show? Or just want to message us?
Email us at matineeminutia@gmail.com.
This has been an Olliebug production.
I have a voice.
I have a voice.
You have a voice. You have a voice.
We
have a voice.
We have a voice.
Unique voices in podcasting.
UniVozPods.net. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and